wanted to start off the show today talking about how hot the market is, but also how challenging it can be for home buyers. It seems like every day I'm getting frustrations from either other realtors or buyers that work with our agents that they're missing out on properties that they want. And, you know, there's bidding wars happening and in certain price ranges. Now, as you climb the price charts and get into $1 million homes, that's not happening. You know, but if you're talking about, you know, 100, 200, 300, even $400,000 homes, market's very competitive, and buyers are missing out on what they want. They still want to buy, and it's where sometimes buyers need to sit down and compromise and kind of maybe think about getting a little bit more flexible on the criteria and the things that they want to buy. In terms of you know, first and foremost, I think one of the most important compromises is location. We'll have buyers come to us with a really specific set of criteria and say, hey, I want to be in this specific location. But if it's either really competitive or there's not a lot of inventory, they may need to open that up a little bit. They maybe need to say, hey, look, okay, well, I can live between these streets. Or instead of Valrico, maybe I can consider Brandon or Plant City. Or instead of Fishhawk, maybe I can move into, you know, Panther Trace or a higher-end neighborhood in Valrico. Or, you know, instead of St. Pete, I can look in, you know, a part of, you know, Largo or Seminole. So I think it's really important as a home buyer, you know, to kind of gauge that. If you've gone out and missed out on a couple of opportunities, number one, maybe you don't have the right agent. But number two, maybe you need to compromise a little bit. And I think location is probably one of those first places that people need to look at, you know, compromising a little bit. Would you guys agree? Like, location comes into play. You're not finding what you want. Maybe open up the box a little bit and look at some other areas.
Well, yeah, obviously you have to be flexible in this market because it's a seller's market, you know. And I think one of the things too, you might be maybe able to tell me better, Andrew, is, you know, a lot of people think that they can put in an offer. They're asking for $200,000. They think they can come in for 180. You know.
Yeah. In today's market, it's just not. Yeah.
Or whatever.
I mean, it's you got to be pretty close to asking price in some of those price ranges, or the seller's going to counter you right back, and then someone's going to come in and swoop out from under you and get the property. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we had buyers that have remorse. Let's say a house listed at $250 and they come in at $230 and they think, oh, that's the market. Not in that price range. $250 is probably going to sell for about $247 in this market, if not more than $250, depending on the scenario. So you're going to lowball them at $230. Number one, you're going to get the seller upset, so they're not going to want to negotiate with you anymore. You've kind of rubbed them the wrong way. And if another offer shows up, sometimes they may go with that other offer that's better before even giving you another crack because you came in so
let me get
low.
your opinion on this, because I kind of talked out of turn a little bit the other day. There was a friend of mine, and he did all the right things. He came to me, he got pre-approved, he got his stuff together, and he was having a hard time getting somebody to find a house he liked, because all the houses he liked were being taken right away.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of activity because it's a seller's market. And at first he heard, you know, he says, well, my realtor told me it's a seller's market, and of course I didn't believe him at first.
Yeah, we get that every time.
Yeah.
They don't ever believe us. They think we're lying, and
right.
There's no reason for us to lie. In reality, the statistics support it. It's clear. All the experts say it. It's a seller's market in Tampa.
So let me. So here's my speculation. Here's my opinion, and this is just my opinion. I'm not a realtor, so you tell me if I'm on the right page or not. So what I told him as a friend, I said, look, here's the deal. He says, if the guy's asking for whatever he's asking for, I would just get the comparables for the neighborhood and look at the comparables and see if what he's asking for is in line with the comparables. Because I will tell you right now, the comparables are a little outdated by now because the market's moving up so fast.
Sure.
That if each market value based on comparables, you can probably feel comfortable that you have a decent deal. Would you agree? Or
I agree. If you're looking at the comparables and it's there, knowing that we've got appreciation. Here's the challenge, though, and I think people are self-interested. You'll have a buyer that will, as soon as they own a home, it's funny. I saw a post on social media not long ago, and it was like 4 pictures of a home, and it was like the picture of the home once you live in it, what you think of it, the picture of the home before you buy it, picture the appraiser thinks of your home, and the picture your inspector thinks your home. But in reality, unfortunately, sometimes consumers have a hard time, looking at those situations realistically. So if they're looking at 1 of 6 homes and the other 5 homes are good, they're going to nitpick the one that they want to buy, even though the other features may be better because they're attempting to do it from a self-interest standpoint. But if you look at the comps and run statistical mathematic averages, and the price is there, then that home's worth that number. And so the reality is it's worth what someone will pay for it, but someone will likely pay that number, especially if it hasn't been on the market that long and it's in a neighborhood where the prices are moving pretty healthy. Now, there are some tricks of the trade we've talked about before that we help our customers, some things that we've learned over time that help our customers win out in bidding wars that not all realtors do. But kind of getting back to the buyer compromises, so if they're running into that, they're missing out, they're not finding what they want, they maybe need to expand their search from a location standpoint. Another thing they can look at expanding, yard size. You'll get someone that says they want a really big yard. The reality is, and we run into this so often, we've had people that have said, hey, look, I want a huge backyard. They go and they buy the home with a huge backyard. 2 years later, they're calling us wanting to sell because it's too much to maintain. They're tired of paying the yard bill. They're tired of this. They're tired of the fence going down. So really, really think about yard size. If you really do need that big of a yard, is there a park right down the street that you can go to? Do you really need the yard if you're going to be at that park? If you don't have kids, do you really need a big yard? So there's a lot of things.
So how do you get somebody off the vision that they want a yard or they want to be in a certain area, and how do you get them off the vision to consider something different?
I think sometimes, I don't think as an agent you can necessarily do that. It's just educating them and telling them, hey, look, maybe you need to think about this as an option. What if the home had everything that you wanted, was in the greatest location, had everything you absolutely wanted, was the price you wanted to pay, but it didn't have a yard? Because unfortunately, this happens every year. Someone will go out, they'll want their dream home, they'll want everything on this list, and they'll decide not to make an offer on a home because the yard's too small, and then they end up finding nothing else. They end up renting. A year later, that same home is $50,000 or $100,000 more by the time they get back in the market again because they needed a place to live. So unless you have an unlimited budget, you're not going to get everything on that list. You have to compromise a little bit, and location and yard size seem to be two of the things that need to be compromised. Another one is architecture. We will get people to say, you know what, I want a 1920s bungalow. I want a bungalow in Seminole Heights, or I want a bungalow in Hyde Park, or I want a certain type of architecture for my home. In reality, to me, once you're inside the home and living in the home, what it looks like on the outside doesn't make that much of a difference to me. Some people aesthetically like to drive up and see what it looks like, and it's charming, and they like to have people come over because the vain idea that people think their house looks cool, and that's kind of their attachment to the type of architecture. But there's also some pros and cons. If you really like that bungalow, it's 100 years old, it's going to be more on insurance. So you can talk to them about the practical side of it. Look, do you really want the bungalow? Because, yeah, it looks nice. But if you buy a block home that's a ranch block home, it's going to be a lot more inexpensive. It's going to be sturdier. There's going to be less problems. So sometimes it's educating them on some of those options. But, architecture seems to be one of those places where, a buyer might want to compromise and loosen up the criteria a little bit, because if they can get the home that is in the school district that they want, that's at the location that they want, that has all the upgrades they want, that has the floor plan that they want, if it's not the exact architecture, is it really worth it for them to lose out on buying that year and a year later not find anything? Because believe it or not, when the market's tight and there's not a lot of inventory, consumers think, oh, I'll find it, and so many people don't. And then they wait a year to buy, and then it costs them so much more money. So there's not as plentiful of inventory out there as people think. So you're going to have to compromise as a buyer unless you have unlimited income. So. And I think, again, you look at the compromises buyers need to make, they can stretch into, size of the home, beds and bath, kitchen, garage size. I mean, all those things are compromises as well. But I think that's advice that buyers need to take notice of right now. If they're not finding what they want, maybe there's a certain criteria that they could loosen up on a little bit. Maybe that would open it up. If they say, oh, I want a 3.5 bath house. Well, what if you got everything you wanted, it was a 3-bath home? Would you buy it? You can put in a half bath, and so I think that's something consumers need to pay attention to right now, especially when you've got so little inventory.